Greetings, all Game of Thrones fans and those who love dragons. This is the second narration of the sequel, Game of Thrones 2, Khaleesi's Dragon Spirit. Now, continuing where we had left off, before the honeymoon, which is something that, again, based on a historical wedding that took place between a human and a Targaryen, had historically commenced. They they are planning on going on this human custom called a honeymoon, which Daenerys is quite interested in trying out, though she is, of course, being the queen she is, can't do it for the time that humans normally would do it for. And again, as said in the last narration, due to a late invitation, can go up to 5 days. But before they start out, William finally, as promised to Sansa Stark, brings up the idea to Daenerys that, should we have a child, it could cause embarrassing and humiliating circumstances. He explains to her that being on the Iron Throne and being pregnant probably would not, if her water were to break and she was about to go into labor on the throne, that would probably be the most humiliating and disgraceful thing to happen. So he discusses something that's similar to what she once gave Tyrion before she stripped Tyrion of his title because he didn't see the great invasion with people beyond the known world, known as the Dragon Warriors, the three leading leaders, with the top leader of the Dragon Slayers, and those from Westeros, who were another type of skilled assassins that had outflanked the Dothraki that she had brought with her at the time she had invaded. So instead of it being known as Hand of the Queen, it is titled by William as Queen's Hand. And she seems to like this title. And what better way than to have Sansa Stark hold that title? So this becomes quite the intrigue, and she adopts this because obviously that would be kind of disgraceful and embarrassing that she should give birth right on the Iron Throne to the heir. In the meantime, there is a meeting of rallying forces for the Essos invasion. Again, you have to remember that the distant cousin to the former King Lanis, after having been informed of this male dragon that is now in their world from another world, it is something that they have to take care of right away. And since they have full plans of doing away with Daenerys, they don't want to have to deal with another dragon. So the first thing is to invade Essos, get rid of the male dragon, and then therefore taking care of the mother dragons as they see it, though it may be a little bit longer and cumbersome than taking care of the male dragon, would exterminate Targaryens once and for all. So this meeting is one that they plan on having a rallying of forces to plan for such an invasion. This would, of course, include sending out a scroll to the Harpies, who made a promise that they would help the new King Timothy, or Tim Lanis, to get what he wants, which is the Iron Throne for the realm of the kingdoms, and in turn they would show payment by helping the Harpies also claim their right to the Jewel of Essos, which is the biggest and tallest pyramid palace. Back at Marine, William also brings up the idea of his best man having a position. This, unfortunately, is kind of a sore subject, because again, referring back to Game of Thrones, the missing link, lost head at the time, to be Hand of the Queen, or sometimes Hand of the King, isn't just merely giving advice and filling in place of a king or queen, as it is having people on the lookout. And if you remember, they were kind of decadent and getting ready for a wedding between Daenerys and Jon Snow. Now, Here's where I have to come to a fork in the road. We already know that Series 7 is out, and they've already aired Episode 1. It looks like they're getting ready to do Episode 2. The Game of Thrones, The Missing Link, Lost Page of Time may be edited depending on certain circumstances. If the theory about Daenerys getting killed or transfigured into the Mother of Dragons over to where she is like a White Walker, then this could make an opening for the title, which I have setting aside, called Return of the Dragon Queen. But, on the other hand, if Jon Snow becomes White Walker, then that would leave the certain edits of the Lost Page of Time. So that is to be announced, and that leaves a door open now for a type of narration called The Theories of the Future of the Realm of the Kingdoms. And this is one where I will address the guy who does mainly his theories, because I believe this is one of intrigue and mystery. That will be for another time now. So in the meantime, Sansa and Tyrion, although she didn't like the idea that Williams had suggested, but he said he would take full responsibility for whatever actions Tyrion does. What the human doesn't realize is that she does hold him to this because it was his idea. And so, not that Tyrion needs a human advice, but William wants to make sure, based on everything he's read, that Tyrion doesn't do like before, where he invited the enemy into the Pyramid Palace, though Grey Worm and Missandei did try to talk him out of it, and then they're attacking the Pyramid Palace. And again, remember, that was not something to do, and Daenerys was not happy about that. Well, she overlooks it, and of course she made the Great Invasion, which of course is where Season 7 comes out. And of course, then when you go skipping to whatever may or may not happen for the remainder of the Series 7, and Series 8 is yet to be done, that's supposed to be the end of Game of Thrones series by George R.R. Martin. That's when Tyrion gets in trouble because he didn't do all of his job when she was marrying him based on my movie script. Got stripped of Hand of the Queen. But she allows the appointments to go through. Well, then they have a lunch banquet celebration for this, and everything seems to go pretty good. And so they still continue for their plans of the departure, which will come with much fanfare when they go off on this human custom called the honeymoon, which Daenerys is looking forward to experiencing. Now, when they get ready to depart, they use their royal, we'll call it a royal cart, buggy, wagon, whatever it is, that they had gotten at the time they were having their historical wedding reception. And great is the fanfare for their departure, so that she can experience this human custom called a honeymoon. And what better way for her to show William around and possibly even meet her uncle for the first time, because he is a human and was once a myth and a legend in her world. So, as they are departing, the king of House Baratheon, King Lanis, the distant cousin to the former King Lanis, then has a meeting of formations gathering at Casterly Rock. This is where they come up with a brand new banner to rally their politics and ridding themselves of the Targaryen once and for all, under the guidance of a lion emblem. It's quite the intrigue and mystery as how this will come about. Then, while they are on the way to the place where they will be at for about 4, and again, due to a late invitation, 5 days on Daenerys and Williams' honeymoon, she does have a remembrance of a vision she had when just before they married, and then of course had the reception. And what Daenerys doesn't know is that she's going to have these visions again. Now, as an example, there will be one born between William and Daenerys, and this will of course be her second, because her and Drogo had a child, and remember, the child was born stillborn, but she never got to see the child because this enslaved sorceress who promised to make things right as far as Drogo's health. That was a false, and she never trusted sources again, which also is why the Lost Days of Times came about, because why would she marry a man risen from the dead if it was by a sorceress? So there's some redundancies and contradiction there. And if there was a child born of her and Jon Snow, then this would, between her and William, would be the third child. Again, unlike human females, the Targaryen females can have probably twice as many kids as any ordinary human female. Not that anybody's ever taken account as to how many human female could actually have, because then they go through what is called menopause. Whatever they may call that in her world is uncertain and unknown. So the child in her vision will come out with bright blonde hair like her and almost look like her, but her name will be Khaleesei Valeria Targaryen, half human, half Targaryen. And what a better way to unite the worlds of both his world, the dark blue star that shines brightly in the Valerian night sky, and her 3 to 5 times larger world, the Valerian world of the 7 known kingdoms. In the meantime, while they are gone, what is unknown, because either not that she's slipping and not being very cautious or protective of the Pyramid Palace, but there is one that somehow passes off to needing work, and he is trusted to do certain areas of type of servant work. But he's actually an undercover spy, and thus becomes known as the Spy Among Us, and he is investigating to find out information for the Woman in Red and King Lanis, the House of Baratheon, as to who this human is, what he's about, and how they can best probably find out to get him separated from the fold, so to speak, of protection of the House of Targaryen. This goes unnoticed, of course, for the time being. In the meantime, Sansa assumes her duties well for being Queen's Hand. And she gets to do pretty much based after the training she receives from Daenerys, that whatever she decides is the same as Daenerys deciding it, and that if anybody had any problems with it, then we'll be tied to them when Daenerys comes back. Because, again, once Daenerys makes a decision, it is final, it's non-negotiable, and it's non-debatable. In the meantime, Sansa does get a message of rising forces, because while every kingdom has their spies, she has spies that Daenerys has sent out to keep an eye on things, and it seems that there is a movement going on, not quite obvious, but somewhat noticeable, and it is put in a scroll and reported back, only to find out that Daenerys and William have gone on this human custom called a honeymoon. So, because Sansa is limited on the decisions she can make while sitting on the throne in the Pyramid Palace as Queen's Hand, it is one that she has to wait until Daenerys' return, and that's for Daenerys' instructions to her. But she is allowed to make most decisions that are not too serious, that a Queen's Hand, in this case, as developed by a human and approved by Daenerys, can handle. So these are the things that are coming up for Chapter 2 of Game of Thrones 2, Khaleesi's Dragon Spirit.